My name's Mike Foster, the Entrepreneur's Mentor, and welcome to my interview series, A Zoom With. I regularly share my own thoughts via my video snippets on my YouTube channel, but this series of interviews is to introduce you to trusted experts with a view to them sharing their thoughts and their tips. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Chris Jones from Glue and Boys and Girls Promotions. For many of you, Chris needs no introduction as one of the good guys in Oxfordshire and a collaborator. And on his LinkedIn profile, Chris details himself as a website and social media analytics evangelist, delivering website visitor information to help your business grow, whilst also, in my mind, being the go-to expert for unique events experience with event management and event staffing. Welcome, Chris. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, Mike, and thanks for that lovely introduction. I've always find it's a bit weird when people talk about both of my businesses because they seem so disparately different, but surprisingly, sometimes there is a crossover. But yeah, no, thank you.
And part of the interview today really is was for you to share the expertise in each, and we can explain to people why you have those two businesses. So let's kick off then. First of all, just you, in your own words, tell me a little bit about yourself and your businesses.
Yeah, well, Glue was our original business. My background for many years was selling IT. And web services, and many years ago just looked at, what did I want to do for myself, and I'd been working with Google Analytics with a couple of the companies that I've been working on, and just using it as a sales leads tool, looking at who comes to the website and then using that information to obviously sell to the client base. And it just seemed like a good idea to sort of take this into a business format. So we started Glue, myself and a partner at the time. And the business has been going over 10 years now. And it's probably changed a little bit recently. Probably in the last 2 years, we've gone from, I suppose we engaged with people at an early stage, or a later stage with regard to they would have a website, they'd have social media, and we would then sort of just do the analytics around what's happening with that infrastructure. But the last few years, we've probably started to talk to people more from a starting position and making sure that they've got a good infrastructure in the first place. Because what we were finding is people would build a website, they build their social media, and it was a little bit unfocused. And I think if we can get to people in the early stages and say, look, these are the key things that you need to look at and think about in the early stages, then we can make sure that, you get better engagement as you move along. So Glue was always the initial thing. And then probably about 2 years after starting Glue, we just had this mad idea that we do some events. And very naively, we sort of thought that we were going to do sort of Glue stuff in the week, and then just do a couple of events at the weekends. And I think last year we did close to 600 events in total. So that side of the business has just grown. That's been going sort of eight years or so now. And it's really just been an organic growth. I mean, we sort of, we're very good at, we know a lot of people. We got very lucky with doing a film launch at one of the colleges very early on, which helped us get off the mark. We then did Venture Fest as one of our sort of first major events many years ago. And it's just grown organically from there. We probably do 600 events a year. We do it with the university and a lot of venues around Oxfordshire. And we do a small amount in London, but it's one of those sort of catch-22s because we're not there, we don't do enough, and we don't have enough staff to then do the events. And it's always been a bit awkward, but we do a little bit in London. But, fundamentally, those are the two businesses. And I just find it keeps me out of mischief. And I'm the sort of person I need to be sort of stimulated day in, day out. And if I was just doing, one thing all the time, I'd probably get quite bored with life. So it's good the phone will ring and I don't know what it'll be. It could be somebody going, right, we need some help with a website, or it could be, we want to put on an event with, 40 staff in a month's time. So I just love that interaction between the two. And touch wood, so far it's worked and we've been very successful.
Cool. Let's have a look at the business individually. Let's start with Glue. They're my initial questions around Glue. So how do you help companies as Glue then?
Well, yeah, as I just sort of alluded to a little bit there, it's probably changed. I think, you know, if you'd asked this question probably 2-3 years ago, it would have been very much, you're a business, you've got a website, you've got some social media, you're probably a 20-user business, you may have a marketing person, you may not. We would typically then engage with you and say, okay, what's going on in your digital world? How's your website performing? How's your social media performing and driving traffic towards your website? And we would really analyze what was going on with your website, give you some plain English feedback as to what's going on. And there may be 10 or so things that we might say, you need to focus on this, this, and this. And then we've just worked with you to make sure that you tick off that list of things, and your engagement ultimately and conversion of visitors to clients improved. As I said, in the last probably year or so, we've probably taken that step back because a lot of people may have built a website and the website really wasn't, what we found is a lot of people will build a website almost for themselves instead of their target audience. So we're now sort of talking to clients and saying, okay, look, great to have a presence, but the rationale and the reason for having the website is engagement with your target audience. So you need to build something that they're going to respond to, engage with, and you can actually take them through a journey when they actually arrive on the site. And we're finding that just helps businesses more getting to that second stage of then going, right, we're now getting the interest, we're now getting the visitors, you know, visiting the site. The conversion now can be better as well. So it's very much more a consultative, and I think people would be quite surprised. A lot of the things we talk about when we talk to businesses now is not even really about technicalities of social media or websites. It's more about what is your business, how do you engage with your client, what ultimately is the journey that they want to take, and making sure that the client is clear, and then we can be clear on saying, okay, this is the infrastructure you need to build that's going to deliver that. So
what type of clients do you work with then, Chris?
It ranges. It's mostly B2B. I would say it's mostly, we've got a few B2C clients, but it's mostly B2B. And as I say, it can be anything from a startup, it can be sort of quite large companies as well. I mean, I think people think, you know, just because you're a large company that you've got everything in place, and that's not always the case. So very good on professional services. We've got some engineering clients. We've got an audiologist. We've got some well-being clients. We've got, it's across the board. There's so many different, there's not any restriction. If you've got a website, you're in business, you want to improve your engagement and what's going on in your digital world, then more often than not, we'll work with you. But as I say, it's more now a more consultative piece. And I think what's key is, and this will sound a little bit arrogant, but I don't mean it to be, it's the fact now that we really do choose who we work with, because we want to work with good people who will see what's the value of what we're doing. Sometimes you can engage with a client and they're just worried about the money that's going to be involved. And that's not the way how we work, because, you know, we'll be fair, we're in business, we want to be sustainable, but we're very clear on what our deliverable will be and what the resource that's required. And for us, it's more about working with our clients, working with good people, and enjoying what we do. I mean, most people will know me, we're professional, but we like to have a bit of we like it to be quite relaxed. We're not stressy in any way, shape or form. And, you know, if we can enjoy what we're doing, it just makes the process so much easier.
That was going to be my sort of third question around Glue, really, is that, you know, I guess it is clients that do see it as an investment, because I think many would think it costs a lot to have that sort of support. Is that the sort of thing you see?
Yeah, and relatively it doesn't, because, you know, what we're trying to achieve, and I suppose the beauty of what we do is, because we really assess we will look at the minutiae of, okay, what are you selling your products at? What products or services are you selling? What needs to be the return on investment on that? Because it's no point charging somebody or putting a load of resource if you're only selling something that's £10 and you cost or cost sale to put something going to be £50. We'll look at that and look, this isn't going to work, or there's a reason why it won't work. So it really is looking at the business, what you want to achieve, and the costs can be variable. It can be, we can do a lot of work for you, or we can do a little bit of work, or it might be a case of, you know, we do a certain amount of work and you do a certain amount of work. It really just depends on what you need to deliver. And we'll work to a budget if people have got budgets, or we'll just be very clear and transparent on what costs will be. Typically, we're probably looking around anything from sort of 150 to 300, 400 pounds a month. That would be, I would say, sort of average cost. And that would depend on a bit of consultancy, a bit of work that we might be doing. We might be doing some social media for you. It might be the case that we're doing some SEO projects for you, looking at SEO for images, looking at SEO for content, all those sort of things. So it really is, there's not a fixed cost, but we'll try and work within budget, and we try and be realistic as to cost and I suppose the beauty of what we do is we're analysing as we go along, and we're giving you reports and we're showing you the benefits. So it's not as if you're spending a lot of money and you don't know what it's going on, you don't know how you're improving, because each month we're saying, you know, we'll do a baseline report to begin with, and it might be you're getting 100 visitors and you're getting 50 engaging. Well, next month, right, it's 150 visitors now and 70 engaging. And then the following month, it's 250 now and it's 100 that engages. So there's clear reporting structure that shows exactly what you're getting for your money as well.
I certainly recall when I worked for a firm of accountants utilising your services, and you know, for me it was that clarity on deliverables. We knew right from day one what that investment was going to be and what we were going to get from you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's key, and that's part of the relationship. We want to make sure that we're working with clients, and it's an ongoing thing. It's not about we're just delivering a service to you. It is a partnership, and I think it needs to be, because it is something that it needs resource, it needs input. You need to, you know, content. You need images. You need to work on an ongoing basis. But you know, we're sort of almost, and again, it's an odd thing to say, but we're very sort of entry level. There are some very good SEO companies and digital agencies in Oxford who will do the very high level stuff, e-commerce and all that sort of thing. But if you're starting out and you just want to get a good, solid infrastructure basis to start with your business, then we're the best people to speak to.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Well, let's turn our attention then to the events world and the boys and girls promotions. And I guess the sort of first question is, what's the key to an event in Oxfordshire or beyond?
For me, the key is simplicity. I mean, it's very easy events can be very complicated and a lot of moving parts, and they can be overly complicated if you let them get so. For me, it's about a very good plan in the first place, very good brief from the client as to what you want to deliver, and then just making sure that you've got good suppliers who can understand the brief, add their value to it, and just make sure that the event goes smoothly. But you know, having a clear brief and just being very clear at the beginning, I think is key. And not making it stressful. Things will go wrong. You know, you're dealing with people, you're dealing with situations, you're dealing with typically the sort of general public. Things will happen that you can't consider. And it's about making sure that you've got a good plan, you've got good people to implement the plan, good staff, and then dealing with the problems as they arise. And I think what a lot of people forget is an event, you worry about it more than the actual people attending. Mm-hmm. And you know, weddings are a classic example. We always say to the brides that we work with, don't panic about the day, because most people are just coming to eat and get drunk. They're not going to worry about the minutiae of that flower wasn't in the right place, or the food didn't come out at 3:15 as it should have done. they'll just go with the day and enjoy the day. So if you've got a good plan, you know what you're doing, your staff will just react to different things in different situations. You know, the bride might turn up later than the scheduled time of arrival at the church or at the venue. So you can't always stick to a rigid plan. You've always got, you know, we always say to our staff, look, this is the plan, but it might change and unfold, and suddenly somebody might say, actually, we're going to do the speeches beforehand, or we're going to do that. So it's being able to react, although you're still delivering on the overall plan. So for me, simplicity. If it's simple and it's done well, hopefully the stress levels aren't too bad.
Simple, clarity, and fluid. I like that. I like that. So, looking at your sort of social media, I know you're a man with the finger on the pulse in the Oxford event scene. What's the event scene in Oxford like at the moment?
Well, I mean, obviously with isolation, it's been a very difficult year. I think we were all sort of motoring along until obviously March, and then everything sort of fell off a cliff. I have to be honest, I sort of had a bit of a meltdown with regard to where this was all going, probably 3 weeks in watching the isolation and what was going on. But then really sort of thought, okay, you know, we've got to get our big boy pants on, we've got to get back out there, we've got to stay visible. And we actually started off a new LinkedIn group with the Oxford Zine to talk about issues at the time. It's very much what's going to happen. We need to know out what illustrations, what issues around what the issue about PPE, what issues around statistics. Having those conversations very early with other event professionals, and it just worked out very well. I mean, it's a very vibrant event sector. The university has a very big say in what goes on with the events in Oxford, because a lot of the university event spaces are possibly the big draw for a lot of people, whether it be corporates or public people doing weddings or corporate conferences or those sort of things. There's some very big event spaces like the King's Centre down in Botley or BMW up in Cowley. So there's a great need for events and a great delivery of service of events. But it's been tough for the last few months, and you know, I think now we're just seeing the shoots of this. There's a few events just starting to come through now. Obviously, there's still restrictions on social distancing, so it's still a bit challenging. But there's some very good people, and you know, I think it will bounce back very, very quickly. And I think we've all just looked at it, and now we're starting to sing off the same sort of hymn sheet with regard to what the deliverers are. Oxford is open, it's a safe environment, you know, you can come and join. And I think we're now getting a more end-to-end solution, because we're now thinking about day one when somebody arrives in Oxford, what's the situation from jumping off that train, transportation to get to your venue, the ancillary services around it, the hotels, the restaurants, etc., the actual conference facilities, the events facilities, and then going back home. And I think now we're all thinking about that sort of end-to-end process, because Oxford is a great destination for people to come, and we want to make sure that they have a great event experience when they get here.
Brilliant. Thanks, Chris. And I know you're a massive champion for events and for Oxford, and I know lots of the activity that's going on in Oxford at the moment is with your enthusiasm and your boundless energy to bring people together. And as I said in my introduction, to collaborate with people openly. So I think I would say on behalf of those people that run events in Oxford, thank you for motivating us to keep positive in a difficult time.
Oh, it's you know, as I said, I had a bit of a sort of breakdown movement with it, but you know, I think I spoke to Andrew, my partner. We just said, look, we need to get back out there. We need to be at the front of this and make sure we're there when, you know, it's hard times now, but it's going to be good times in, you know, a few months' time, and hopefully we'll see the benefits of it. But just been happy to do it, and it's given us some clarity with the business. It's given us some clarity with other event people. So it's been good all round, and I've enjoyed doing it, and it's kept me out of mischief as well. So that's the main thing.
There seems to be a common theme in your answers, keeping you out of mischief. So yeah, really grateful for you joining us today, just to give us a bit of insight into both the glue business and the events business. I'd certainly recommend that anybody who's got a need for your service to have a conversation with you, have a coffee with you, just to bounce off that boundless energy that you've got, but also your connections, your ideas, your thoughts, your innovation. So thanks again, Chris.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. That's brilliant.
Love to have
always open for a coffee and a chat.
Yeah, great. So brilliant. Thanks again, Chris. Please do subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you'll get notified each time I publish a new interview. And I'll see you next time for a Zoom with whoever's next.